So apart from that, we have discussed about the main functionalities of the kernel. Like there are 4 jobs of kernel does. Something like memory management, process management, and device driver management, and system calls and security. So these are the few things which we have discussed yesterday. And apart from that, we have discussed about the Linux distributions. Like 2 types of distributions are there, right? One is based on RPM based. If you use RPM package manager, it is basically a RPM based distribution. If you use a Debian based package manager, we call it as Debian based distribution. So right now, most of our sessions will be based on the RPM based package manager. For that, we are using CentOS as an operating system. So going forward, in our labs and sessions, we will be using CentOS. Okay. So which is basically an RPM based package manager, and it is dependent on RPM based systems. Okay. Hope it is clear till now. Like if you have any questions on yesterday's class, like please feel free to ask. And we just revised it. And apart from that, today after the end of the session, like I will be sharing few lists and document to you people, like the links of the VirtualBox which you need to download, and also the link of the CentOS operating system which we need to download. Okay. So once you download both of the things, I will give you a demo or something like that. Like during our lab session, I will give you a demo, like how to install everything, like how to create a VirtualBox. Like if you have a prior experience, like feel free to create on your own. Like if you don't have any prior experience, like I will give you some basics, like how to set up. Okay. So that whenever lab comes, we will be going through them. Okay.
So your voice is not audible. You are in mute.
Okay. Okay, thanks for calling that out. Okay. So when I went to mute, like, is it from the initial part or in the middle?
It's
like
from the initial stage.
From the initial stage. Oh, okay. Sorry for that actually. Like I thought I was talking about all these things. Okay. Thanks people. Thanks for calling out. Okay. So basically, like today we will be going through the introduction of the Linux commands. First thing we'll be going through is something like we'll be going through all the file commands, like how to create a file, how to delete a file, how to move, how to rename a file, and all these commands we'll be discussing over there. Apart from that, we also will be discussing about few process commands, how to create a process, how to run a process in a foreground and a background, and how to kill a process. Those kind of things will be there, right? For that, there are few process management commands. We'll be going through them. Apart from that, there are other set of file permissions which we need to understand. Like while we talk about file permissions, like if a specific user has a permissions to create or delete or update a file, then only he can perform the corresponding operation, right? If you don't have those kind of permissions, he cannot perform anything over there in the corresponding file for a given user. So for that, we need to learn the file permissions, how to assign a user a specific file permission and everything. We will be going through that when we go through the file permission commands. And apart from that, there is also fourth set like pattern commands. So in this pattern commands, we will be executing few things like searching a pattern, locating files, finding few files based on the name, and grabbing few patterns and everything. So we will be going through them. And finally, we will be going through the system commands. So basically system info commands are commands like using which we will be monitoring the system processes as such. Suppose if I want to know the date of the operating system which I'm working on, like there should be some system commands that I should know. And if I want to know which user I have logged in, I need to know few things. Similarly, if you want to perform a disk uses, like I want to check how much disk has been used, what is the disk fragmentation, everything. So all these things we need to know using this system info commands. Okay. And the final commands are something like compression commands. Compression commands you already know. By the name, we will also come to understand like compression commands are commands which you use it to compress, decompress the data and transfer it to other places. Like zip, unzip, tar. These are like few of the compression commands we'll be knowing. And finally, the most important thing which we need to learn here, everyone, is something like network command. So most of the DevOps engineers mostly rely on these network commands on a day-to-day basis. So based on this network commands, you will be understanding whether the host is up and running, whether the port is already in use. If you want to give some sort of permissions to a file, you can do using the network commands. So these are like few of the important commands which we need to know, like netstat, all these commands. Like we will be going through few of the Linux commands today. Okay. For that, in order to learn these commands, first of all, we will be using VirtualBox. Let me open the VirtualBox. Okay, for that I am using Oracle VirtualBox over here. And before opening and everything, like, do you people have any experience on working on any of these Linux commands as such? Or is it the first time that you people are looking at this?
First time
Okay.
for me.
Yeah, fine. What about the other people?
I'm using it, but just very basic now. I'm using CentOS, and this is my first time on CentOS, so I need to.
Okay.
So I'm learning the basic command as I go along on the job.
Sure. So basically, I opened the Oracle VirtualBox. On top of that, I installed the CentOS.
Your voice is not audible.
Hello, people. Am I audible?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. So right now I started my Oracle VirtualBox, and on top of it, I am starting my CentOS operating system. Once it is started, like we will go through the commands which I have listed. Okay. First of all, we will go through the file commands, like how to perform the basic file operations and everything. So as this is a virtual machine, like initially it will be slow. Like once we log into the machine, like everything will be running fast. Like it is like a normal VM for you. Like going forward, like we'll be using like AWS EC2 instance rather than using this VirtualBox. But initial couple of classes, like in order to learn the basics of Linux and also install the Jenkins, and also when we are learning it, we will be going through the Oracle VirtualBox. Okay. And once we go through AWS as a class, like from that day onwards, like we'll be creating our own EC2 instance. From that day onwards, we'll be using that corresponding EC2 instance to perform all these Linux operations out there. Okay. So basically, like once we logged into the Linux, like I opened the terminal. Basically, it is the command line interface, like where we'll be performing all the operations. Okay. The first command, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Your voice is a bit low, actually. I think if you.
Okay, like, is it same for everyone? Like, is my voice so low?
No, we don't have any problem.
Okay, like maybe can you please check from your side also? Like, I think maybe some sort of issue from your side also. Vaishnavi or
Okay.
okay. Okay, that's fine. Like first command, everyone has to know is something like ls. Basically, it is basically used to list a directory. So basically, like ls minus lrth is the command which is used to list all the files in the current directory which you have logged in. And LRTH is the option where using this option, we will be getting the long listing of all the files in the reverse order in a human readable format. What exactly it means? So when you do ls minus lrth, like you will be getting some sort of permissions which are shown here for a given file or a folder. So these are like permissions for this given file. And these are like the user that is assigned to this file and the group that is assigned to this file. And also the size of the file, which is something like a 16 MB. And the date at which it is created, date at month and which it is created. And also it will also give other fields like the time at which it is created. Okay. So basically, if you do ls minus lrth, it is basically used to list the files in a reverse order in a long listing, like long listing in the sense like it will
show you all the permissions for a given file, and also it will show which user it belongs to, which group it belongs to, and the size of the file and the date at which it is created. Okay. So when we give option T, it is something like time has been displayed over here. So L is something like long listing. If you don't give ls-l, it will only display the files in this format. Like it will show what are all the files it has. Like it won't be displaying all the components, like all the permissions and all the things. Apart from that, R is something like reverse order. Reverse order in the sense, the latest file which is created is shown in the bottom, and the older file which is created is shown at the top. If you give T, it will show the time. And if you give H, it is shown in the human readable format. If you don't give H over here, it will be showing, instead of 16 MB, it will be shown in the bytes, like 1, 6, 2, 4, 7, 8 bytes. Like instead of that one, it will be showing in a human readable format. That's why it is showing 16 MB. So by looking into it, we will understand it is the file is of 16 MB. Okay. These are like few of the listing that will be done if you give the command ls-lrth. And apart from that, we also came across file permissions. Right. By looking into this file permissions, we can say whether the given file is a folder, given thing is a file or a directory. So here, if you see, the first one is there, right? If you see hyphen, it is a file. If you see D or here, it is a directory. So here the documents is a directory, because at the first permission we are seeing D or here. Where you see jenkins.txt is a file, because it is only having hyphen as a permission over here. It is not saying it is a directory over here. That is why based on this, we can see whether a given thing is a file or a directory by looking into it. Okay. Apart from that, we also come across one more thing like Harsha and Harsha. What are these two things? And also root and root. The first one here signifies the user the file belongs to. So Terraform something.zip is there, right? This file belongs to root user. Whereas the folder public is there, right? It belongs to Harsha as an user. So if you see all these files and folders from here to the bottom, it belongs to Harsha as an user, and also group is also Harsha or here. Okay. Based on this, when you logged in with the user Harsha, you can perform the corresponding operations which your group has or your user has. So that we will be discussing while we come across the file permissions thing. Okay. So till now, we came across the long listing in the reverse order, right? There is one more command with ls. If you want to know and find the hidden files or directories, then you need to do ls-lrth, and also we need to give another option like a. Now, if you see here, there are like few other files apart from the normal files and folders which you see here, like pictures, public, documents, and Terraform. There are few other files over here, or folders or directories, which are basically having dot at the first. These are something like hidden files. Like if you want to see any of the hidden files, basically we need to give -a in the option. Okay. Okay. ls-lrth with option A will show you hidden files. .dbus is a hidden directory. .local is a hidden directory. If you don't want to see the hidden files, you just need to go with ls-lrth. Then it will be showing any of the hidden files or directories over here. Hope it is clear till now, I think. Okay. We will be going to other commands over here. The next command which I will be showing is something like cd, which is something like change directory. If I want to move from one folder to another folder, one directory to another directory, the command which we need to use over here is something like cd. So what is it like here? If you see, public is a directory, pictures is a directory, because initially it is appended by D in the permissions folder, in the permission section. Whereas Terraform is not the directory, it is a file. Whereas text.txt is a file. So we cannot do cd to a file. We can do only cd to a directory. Okay. Let's do CD. CD, let's take one thing like documents. So now if you see initially, we are in home directory of this user Harsha. Now you move to the other folder, CD documents. Now our home directory, our directory is something like, if you do give pwd or here, I move to /home/Harsha/documents over here. So if I want to again go back to Harsha over here, like I need to give cd space dot dot. If I give again pwd is something like present working directory which you have logged in. It will show I have moved to /home/Harsha. Like I have moved from documents to one step back. If I again want to move to /home only, then again I need to give cd dot dot. My current working directory would be pwd. It will be now /home only. Okay. So in this way, the change directory command is used to switch across directories. Okay. Hope it is clear for you people. And also there is one more command which we need to understand. Like if you want to go to the home directory of the present user. Like again, I do cd dot dot. My current directory is something like /. I want to go to home directory of my user. My user is something like Harsha, right? I logged in with the user Harsha. So my home directory for the user Harsha is something like /home/Harsha. Like if I want to go to the home directory of my current user, I can do cd tilt. If I do cd tilt, now my present working directory would be /home/Harsha. So in this way, we can migrate to home directory using a simple command from any of the path you are in. Like suppose right now I'm in documents, right? Again, if I want to go to my home directory of my current user. So cd tilt. So using the cd tilt command, I'm going to my home directory of this command. Okay. Hope it is clear for you people. Like if you have any questions, feel free to ask me and stop me in the middle itself. Okay. Next command we need to understand is something like, let's go to cd documents. Like again, like I am trying to create one folder over here. mkdir is the command, and I am trying to create one test folder inside it. And again, I'm moving to the test folder. And again, cd. What is my present working directory? Now my present working directory is something like home, Harsha, documents, and test. So from here, if I want to go to the home directory of my current user, which is something like /home/Harsha, I just need to give cd tilt. And if you give pwd, it will be going to /home/Harsha. Okay. And the next command which we need to understand is something like cd space hyphen. So most of you people heard about swap in your TV remotes or something like that. If you want to swap across two TV channels, you will be using that swap button, right, in your remote. Similarly, in CD also, if you want to swap across two folders, like initially you are in the folder path like home, Harsha, document, test. Like next command you have moved is something like you move to home, Harsha. Like next thing, if I want to move to cd home documents test, I need to give just cd tilt. Sorry, cd hyphen. If I do cd hyphen again, I will be moving to /home/Harsha. In this way, if you want to swap across two different folders as such, you can use this command cd hyphen as such. Okay. So till now we have discussed about two commands. One is something like ls-lrth, which is something like listing the files, and using lrth, we will be knowing the long listing of all the files in the reverse order with the time, in a human readable format. And also if you want to know hidden files, you will be using ls-a. So if you give ls-a, it will list all the hidden files also along with the regular files. What are the hidden files here? .-rc is a hidden file. -bash profile is a hidden file. Because if you have something appended with dot, then we call it as a hidden file. Okay. The next thing we have discussed is something like cd, change directory. If you want to move from one folder to another folder, we will be using cd command. Cd documents, it will move to documents folder. Cd test, it is moving to cd. Okay. If you want to move to home directory, you will be using cd tilt command. So if you do cd tilt, you will be moving to home directory of my current user. Okay. If I do cd hyphen, I will be swapping across two different folders, which I have logged in previously. Hope it is clear for you people till now. Like, do you have any questions? Like, feel free to talk. Like, I'm just asking. Like, if you understood also, please let me know. Like, if you have questions also, please let me know. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Sure, understood. No doubts.
Okay, if it is clear, that is fine for me. And apart from that, we learned one more command, something like pwd. It will show you the present working directory that you have logged in. Okay. And
Okay.
one more command that you have learned is something like, sorry, like someone is asking some question. I think. Like, okay, I think it's not a question. I think. So one more command which we have learned is something like creating a directory, like mkdir. Using this mkdir, we can create a folder, mkdir Deepak. It will create a folder named Deepak. Now, if I do ls minus lrth, it will show the recently created file in the bottom, right? So Deepak is recently created directory, which is shown at the bottom. How can you say Deepak is file or a directory? By looking at the permissions. If you see this permissions store here, it is showing D or here. So that is why we are calling Deepak as a directory. Okay. If you don't see D or here, and if you see just tilt or here or hyphen or here, then we call it as file. This is how we differentiate a file and a directory. Okay. The next command which we need to understand is something like how to create a file. Till now, we have gone through like, till now I have created a directory named Deepak. Now I want to create a file. How to create a file? I can use Visual Editor. That is one way to create a file. And also apart from Visual Editor, there are few ways to create a file. The other way is something like touch command. Touch file 1.txt. So if I do ls minus lrth, it has created a file with the name file1.txt. So as it is a file, it doesn't have anything over there at the permissions, like just an hyphen over here. So in this way, using touch command, I have created a file. And the next command which we need to know is something like how to see the content in a file. Right now, I have created a file. I have created a folder using mkdir. I have created a directory. Using touch, I have created a file. I want to see the content in a file. Okay. How to see the content in a file? Okay. For that, there is a command like cat harsha.txt. So if you see here, if I do cat harsha.txt, it will show the content in the file. Right now, I don't see any content, like maybe hello world.sh may have content. Like let's see. Like cat hello world.sh has some content, right? If I scroll up, you can see hello world.sh is a script, sh script. And it has some commands over there. And it is executing some sort of commands over there. Okay. So using cat command, we can see the content in a file. Okay. But right now, when I executed the cat command, am I able to see the complete content of the file? Like I want to see the initial lines of the file. I cannot see it directly in the screen. Like I need to scroll it up, right? For seeing the initial content like bash, bin, shebang, and everything. For that, I'm scrolling up. So instead of scrolling up, if I want to see the first 10 lines of this file, I need to use a specific command. That is something like head. Head. What is the file name? Hello world.sh. Okay. So if you see head hello world.sh, it will show only first 10 lines of the file. Okay. These are like first 10 lines of the file. So if I want to see last 10 lines of the file, what is the command I need to use? Tail, the same file name, hello world.sh. So now you are seeing last 10 lines of the file. So this is head command. That's why you are able to see the first 10 lines. This is a tail command. Here we are able to see last 10 lines of the file. Okay. So in this way, if I want to see more lines in the corresponding file, like if I want to see first 15 lines of my file, I need to give head 15 hello world.sh. Now it will show 15 lines of my file. Okay, it should be plus 15. So if I give head plus 15, the file name, it is showing the first 15 lines of the file. If I don't specify any number over here, it will by default only show first 10 lines of the file. Okay, hope it is clear for you people. Like in general, there will be a scenario. Like
Same
whenever
as
you talk, yeah, tell me.
you have mentioned head plus 15, but it shows only 10
Yeah.
lines.
Where? This one, right? Shall we count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. One second. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It's mentioned can't open plus 15 for reading.
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't have the option of plus 15 or something like that. One second. Correct. Maybe I will get back to you on this. Okay. Yeah, that is wrong actually. Like plus 15 is not working. Like give me 1 second. I will give me 1 second. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you see here, sorry, I mistakenly told you plus 15, which is actually minus 15. Okay. Is it wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now it is correct, right? So by mistake, I have given you like head plus 15. Actually, it is something like head minus 15. So it will show the first 15 lines. Okay. Thanks for correcting me.
The last 15 lines.
So
Then
you
use
can use
tail
the
minus.
tail command.
Okay.
Yeah. And also if you want to, like, if your file is frequently getting updated, like if your file is a log, like every minute it will be getting updated, right? If you want to know the frequently updated content in your file, the command which we need to use is something like tail-f hello-world.txt. So basically, if new file is basically pushed from your application to the corresponding file, it will be displayed at the bottom. Actually, it will be like scrolling down and new content will be displayed over here. Right now, like as this file is not getting updated by any of the application, like we are not getting the new content. If you are logging, if you want to see any latest files or latest changes in a corresponding file as such, like we have to use tail-f, the corresponding file. Then it will show the latest changes that has occurred in a specific file as such. Okay. Fine. And till now, we have gone through how to display content in a file, like first few lines and last few lines in a file, how to view the complete content using a cat command, everything. And if I want to remove a file, what is the command I need to use? Suppose I have created a file name file.txt. So I can simply use rm file.txt. It will remove that file. If I do ls minus lrth, you won't see file.txt in the bottom. So I have created a directory also here, like Deepak. Can I remove this directory using the same rm command? Like, just give it a try. Like, will it work?
No.
No. So basically, if you want, if you want to remove a directory, basically you need to go with an extra option. Like that option is something like rm minus rf. So if you do rm minus rf, you can remove a directory as such. So after doing rf minus rf, Deepak, this is my directory. You will see my directory is also deleted. Okay, which I have created. Yeah. So the next command which we need to understand is something like copy. Suppose function.sh is there. I want to copy inside downloads folder. How to do it? The command which I need to use it over here is something like copy function.sh and the folder name. Now, if you see function.sh is not there in the current directory. Now let's go to downloads. So I have copied the function.sh from here to here. Sorry, like I haven't moved this file, right? So as I copied from the home folder to this document downloads folder, there will be replica of this function.sh in both the places. If I do a move command from this one place to another place, you won't be seeing the source also. The next thing I will be showing is something like move command. Move function.sh to documents. Now, if you see here, after moving this, you won't be seeing function.sh over here. It is not there, right? So if you go to documents, you will be seeing function.sh over here. Okay. So the difference between the copy and move command is something like copy will have the replica of that file or directory in the current place, and also it will be copying a new thing in the new folder which you have shown over there. If you just use a move command, it will move entire thing from the source to the destination. It won't have any replica or something in the source which you have copied from. That is the major difference between the copy and move. And
A
also
question
move
from
command.
me. Sorry, just a question. So when you're
Yeah.
moving or when you're copying from one folder to another, do you have to be in the root folder or in the root path where the document is saved, or you can move the document from anywhere?
We can copy document from anywhere, but at that time we need to specify the complete path where the document is residing. So suppose I will give you an example. So currently function.sh is basically there in documents, right? Let's move back. My current path is something like home Harsha. Right now I'm in home Harsha. Like I want to copy function.sh from there to my home Harsha. Right now I don't think we have function.sh or if you have function fun .sh. Right now in my present working directory, I don't have function.sh. I am copying it from the documents. Like for that, we will have to do copy. Like I will be specifying the path. Documents. Function.sh. And I will be specifying if I want to copy in the current folder, I will be doing the dot. Now, if I do same ls, which initially failed, no such file or directory. Now you will be seeing that same thing over here. So while we are using move or copy, it is not mandatory that you should be in the same folder. We can copy it from the different folder also, but you should know the complete path from where you are copying. Hope it is clear. Okay.
It is clear, thank you. And when you're moving copy, do you need to specify the full folder or the folder you're copying into? Did you just do, because you only just you specify the folder where the file is saved and then you press dot?
So basically there are two types of path. One is something like a relative path. One is something like a complete path, which we need to give. Right now, I'm already in home Harsha, right? From here, if I want to copy function.sh, which is there in the documents, I can use the relative path. Copy, like I'm not giving the complete path, like home Harsha documents, function.sh to dot, our current folder. So right now I'm using relative path. So there can be a requirement where you have to use the complete path. At that time, based on your requirement, you have to use the complete path. So copy, at the time, the complete path is something like home Harsha documents function.sh to /home /Harsha, maybe downloads. I want to copy in the downloads. So based on our requirement, we can copy. We can also decide whether we want to use a relative path or a complete path while copying.
Okay, thank you.
That's the July patches.
Okay. So till now we have discussed about the basic file permission commands and file commands and everything. So copy, move, like how to see the content, how to remove a, how to create a file, how to create a folder. And we have discussed everything, right? So the next thing is something like we will be going through a file permission. So like there is some slight disturbance. Okay, fine. Fine. So while talking about file permissions, like let us use the command ls -lrth. Here, if you see here, like there is set of permissions that are represented for a given file or a given folder. So for public, we have some set of permissions. Public as a directory, we have set of permissions, right? Read, write, execute, RWX, read-execute, and read-execute.
This
Similarly, for the file
This
text.txt, we have some set of permissions, right? Read, write, and hyphen means it doesn't have any permissions to execute. And read, write, and hyphen means it doesn't have permissions to execute. Okay. Why we are giving the same permissions, right? Read is also specified over here. Read is also specified over here. Read is also specified over here. Why? Why we are giving permissions at 3 different levels? For that, we need to understand what exactly is the user in a Linux. What exactly is a group in a Linux? What exactly is an other in a Linux? Okay. So I will be showing you those things. Like, let me open a notepad. 1 second. Give me a minute. Like, it is opening. Ooh. Okay. Anyway, I will use a visual editor. Okay. To show all these things to you. Okay. Anyway, notepad is open.
do what?
Okay. Let us go here and let's get permissions of one of the folder or a directory. So for this folder, we are getting D or WX or -X or -X for the folder public. Okay. So here we need to understand the file permissions are given to 3 different things. One is for an user, that is a file or a group that is assigned to. First 3 things are something like for the user that a file is assigned to. The next 3 things are something like it is for the group that is assigned to. So the third one is something like others. Okay. So what does it mean? Suppose there is a folder named public over here. Right. As I said earlier, this public folder is basically belongs to user Harsha. And also this public folder is basically belongs to group Harsha. Here, if you see this zip file is there, right? This zip file basically belongs to user root and group root. Okay. So for the user Harsha, what are the permissions which we have? Let's go over here. For the user Harsha, it has permissions to read, write, and execute on this folder or a directory. So for the group Harsha, it has the permissions to read and execute only. It doesn't have permissions to write over there. For others, if you have logged in with others, like if you haven't logged in with the group or user that belongs to Harsha, then you have permissions to read and execute, and you don't have permissions to write anything in this folder. So in this way, we can specify any permissions and we can understand any permissions for a given file or a given directory. Suppose let's take another file like file.txt. This file belongs to user Harsha, and also group name is also same, Harsha. Suppose this file has permissions like hyphen read hyphen read hyphen execute read hyphen execute. Okay. So there is a file name file.txt and it belongs to user Harsha and it belongs to group Harsha. Suppose, as I said earlier, by knowing it the first thing, we will come to know this is a file. Let's ignore the first thing. The next three represents what does the user permissions have. Like if you logged in with the user Harsha, these are the permissions you have. Like you have only permissions to read this file. You don't have permissions to write anything in this file. You don't have permissions to execute this file. Similarly, if you logged in with the group, if you logged in with the group Harsha, then you have only permissions to read and execute, and you don't have permissions to write over here. Similarly, if you logged in with some other permissions, like some other user, which doesn't belongs to Harsha or group Harsha, then you have only permissions to read and execute, and you don't have permissions to write over here. Okay. In this way, whenever you look into a specific folder or a directory, by looking in these permissions, we will come to an understanding like what exactly the user has, what exactly the permission the user has, and what exactly the permission the group has, and what exactly the permissions the other has. Okay. Suppose if I want to change the permissions of the given file.txt, how to do it? Basically, there is a command like chmod. Basically, using this command, we can change the file, we can change the permissions of a given file or a directory. Suppose for a given user, like I have only permissions to read over here, right? For the file.txt. I want to have permissions to write and execute also for the user Harsha. Now what I have to do, I need to give the permissions to read, write, and execute over here. So in order to give that, there is some octal representation that generally we need to follow. What exactly the octal representation we need to follow is something like 4 is for read, 2 is for write, 1 is for execute. So basically it is something like 2 power 0, 2 power 1, and 2 power 2. That is why we are calling it as octal representation. 2 power 0 is 1, right? Basically it denotes execute permission. So 2 power 1 is 2, right? It is something like a write permission. 2 power 2 is something like 2 square. It is something like 4. It represents read permissions. Suppose for a given user, if you want to give read, write, and execute permissions, like it is something like we need to combine 4 plus 2 plus 1. It is something like 7. Okay. For a given user, I want to give read, write, execute permission. For group, which it belongs to, I want to give only read permission, not the write or not the execute. Then for read, what is the octal number? It is something like 4. For others, I don't want to give execute permission. The same thing, 4. For the file.txt. So if I use this command, basically the file will be having the permissions of read, write, execute for the user, read only for the group, and read only for others also. In this way, we can give a permissions to a specific file. Suppose I want to give execute permissions for the group also it belongs to. So first of all, chmod, my command is something like I want to give read, write, execute for the user, right? It should be 7 because 4 plus 2 plus 1. Now I need to give read and execute. What is read number? 4. What is execute? 1. 4 plus 1, 5. But for others, I want to give only read permissions. So what is the octal representation for read? It is 4. File.txt. So in this way, we can change a permissions for a given file as such. Let us do it in a practical way. Okay. I want to get these kind of permissions for the given file. I need to use 754. Let's do 754. Here, okay. Let me do ls minus lrth. Now you see this file has only read and write permissions for the user and read and write for the group and read only for the others. I want to give the permissions like I want to give read, write, execute for the user. So my number is something like chmod 7. And I want to give only read and execute permissions, not the write permissions. That is something like 4 plus 2, 5. Next one is something like I want to keep as it is, only read permissions. That is something like 4 for test.txt. If I do ls minus lrth, that is what I will get, right? I have got read, write, execute for the user. I only got read and execute for the group. And I have got read only for the others. Okay. Let us try to change it for other file. Suppose I want to get, I want to only give execute permission and read permissions only for the user. And I just don't want to give for the other people. Like I don't want to give any permissions to the group or others. Now what we have to do? chmod. What I want to give read and execute permissions for the user. What is the number for read?
500.
Okay, basically what you said is absolutely right, but I just want to reiterate, like what is the number for read? It is basically 4. And I want to give permissions for execute also. 4 plus 1 is 5. And I don't want to give any permissions for the group and others. That's why I want to give 0 and 0. File.txt. Maybe is it file.txt? Okay, for jenkins.txt. Jenkins.txt.
Steps
Long list.
118.
So as I said, I have given only read and execute permissions for the user, and I don't want to give any permissions for the group and others also. That is why I gave 500. Okay. Now I want to give read permissions for the others. Like, can someone try it? Like 5. Like I don't want to change anything for the group, so 0. So, but for others, I want to give read permissions. What should be the number over there?
4.
Right. So I gave write permissions for the others. So in this way, if you want to change permissions for a given file, this is the process which we need to do. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So that's it for today. Like I want to discuss about these basics only, like basic commands. From tomorrow, we'll be discussing about the process management commands and also file pattern commands and also system info commands going forward.